Welcome to Rubber Duck Engineering. Tonight we're going to continue exploring in games, although we're going to take our roguelike that we're doing and we're going to turn it into an open world game because, yeah, there was a little bit of progress since last week. Hi, Dr. Barth.
Hey, Eric, how are you?
I'm okay. It's been kind of a terrible week, but mostly because my kid happens to be at an age where button pressing is a thing and he's found some buttons and
Like physical buttons or emotional buttons?
like emotional buttons.
Oh, emotional buttons.
I gotta practice my breathing exercises. So any of you in the audience who happen to have children, they eventually find buttons and they get old enough and get very good at pushing them. Anyways, that, it's been a terrible week for parts of the world. So, anyways, but otherwise it's been good and I'm excited for the show.
Yes, I think we've made a lot of progress since last episode.
We have, to put it lightly. Would you like to a refresher on where we were?
Yes.
This was the end of last episode.
I love the nested versions of ourselves.
Where I'm asleep and whatever. Anyways, focus on the right side of the screen, where the were these portals? I can't even remember.
Those are the portals. The red blocks were the enemies, and the orange block was the player.
Ah.
Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Anyways, if I remove this and go back,
where are we now?
I told
you. So to be fair, we had reached basically a actually playable game. So we had all the fundamentals of the game in place, and you could play it. It put the minimum in minimum viable product,
which is really important, and that's how we got further. So we did some play testing this weekend.
And once you're there, you can play the game and iterate on it and figure out what is the thing that bugs me the most, and then you can fix that, and then say what is the thing that bugs me the most after that, and just climb this ladder to where, Eric?
I'm waiting for the. I don't know. I told Windows to run, and it's chillaxing. I don't know actually. We might need to stall for time. You could do a dance routine while I.
Well, I'd say a little bit about what we did. So, we first of all selected a color scheme that wasn't just random colors we picked out of a color sheet. Then we taught the system how to draw emoji into the different cells. So this allowed us to select a actual character that looked interesting, and actual enemies that looked interesting. And then we added a bunch of items. Oh, we made it possible to hit the enemies and for the enemies to hit you. So then you have a life bar. Your life bar consists of little hearts. And then we found that you kept getting hit, but there was no way to get healed. So we added the ability to pick up items in the world. So we added both a purple heart emoji, which healed 1 heart point. And then we added a sparkle heart emoji, which healed all the life points. Then we decided the game was a little bit too easy. So Eric added Fog of War. So you can only see just around your character and you couldn't see the rest of the level. Game was still too easy. So he added Key. So in each level, you have to get the key before you can go through the portal to the next level. I think those are sort of the main elements that we did. And it comes together into actual game that's fairly fun to play, actually.
So I can tell you that the mistake that I made before the show. So in my evening hacking this week, I decided to play around with Unity. And I was playing around with Unity, and I loaded up. I was playing around with Unity, and it was opening Visual Studio Code. And then I double-clicked on a file, and it opened the wrong version of Visual Studio Code. And I thought, that's dumb. Why do I have 2 versions of Visual Studio Code installed? So I uninstalled one of them. Turns out, Flutter appears to require Visual Studio Code 2019, which is the one that I uninstalled last night, not Visual Studio Code 2022. So maybe I'll set up Visual Studio Code 2022 or while we're coding tonight.
That sounds like a plan. So this is the game now.
This is the game.
Yeah, is it a caterpillar? You're a little caterpillar.
Yeah, we're in the browser, so the emojis are a little different. But again, one of the glory of Flutter Web is like when you've uninstalled your Windows tool chain, you can just use the web one. But yeah, so you're this little caterpillar. You can move around, and the key unlocks the portal, which I can show you the locked portal if I can find it. Oh, found a heart.
There's a heart. The first level doesn't have any enemies.
There's a make yourself. Oh, there's a map. See, there's the locked portal. If I go pick up the key. Anyways, this is what we did in the Easy Bug Oven this weekend. See how it has Fog of War? I think you can see that. Yeah, you can see that.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's Fog of War. Anyway, so this is all in the roguelike. Oh, there was an enemy I just killed. This is in the roguelike repo on the Worm Game branch. And tonight we're going to try turning this game base. Oh, there. See? Look. Oh, I killed it.
Oh, the enemies also can drop things. If you kill them, they have some chance of dropping something useful for you.
That made the game so much more fun when we added that.
It's like the slot machine, you got to have some randomization in your game.
And there's one other item that we haven't seen, which is we haven't seen the light bulb. There's a light bulb that makes your vision radius bigger. See, the enemies are single hit. You just have to bump into them. They're quite easy. Anyways, the game, it's okay. But we decided we were going to convert it to an open world game.
So what do you mean by that, Eric? What's an open world game?
I mean, there are so many games are open world these days where they just sort of go off in every direction. We were going for a procedural generation. It's
good news. It's free.
Good news. It's free. Source code is fully available. Tippetry checked in to roguelike on. I bet I have the. Do I have the? Yeah, right here. That's the repo. Anyways, it's free.
Check it out. Build it for your favorite platform, any platform you like.
Anyway, so an open world game. Another example is Minecraft, and Minecraft is more where I'm modeling for. We have some interesting things that we've talked about wanting to do, but so a 2D. Where we're think next shooting is a 2D top down. So think original Zelda, but goes infinitely in every direction. And then we're going to add some gimmicks on top of that. But we were going to convert this, which is currently this like descending level-based thing, to be able to go infinitely in every direction.
So like, for example, right now you're at the right edge of the world. And if you move right, nothing happens. What we want is when you move right, like the whole thing chunks over. And now you're at the left edge of the screen and you can explore more of the world.
I also think it should show, and these are conversations that, you and I haven't yet had. We talked a little bit, I think on like Tuesday night, about how we might change to something different. But like, I think you want to show the nearby cells in all 9 directions, just ever so slightly.
Oh, maybe like they're like peeking in from the edge or something.
Yeah, because that's how like Zelda worked too, I think. At least maybe not the original Zelda, but like a later Zelda did, where you could like see a little bit into the next rooms. Shall we try to the code machine?
Yeah, let's do it to the code machine.
It's either that or setting up Flutter tonight, because if I ran Flutter Doctor, I have learned that I need to do these things, but I'll do that later. Because I don't think we're using Windows tonight. So I started before the show, but I didn't get very far. So if I go to this and I view stash changes and I restore the stash changes, it turns out there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But I was in the process of, so one of the things that we used to have the separation between level and level state, and levels were immutable. We've talked about making this an open world game that is mutable. And so the idea of having an immutable level just doesn't make a lot of sense. So I have renamed level to block, which you were just pointing out right as we were loading in, that maybe it should be chunk, because that's what Minecraft calls them.
I just feel like if you're able to move the actual block, like the cells around, that might get confusing if we think of those as blocks.
Okay. Trivial to rename. So this could be current, what did you call it? Chunk?
Chunk, yeah.
This is just chunk. Are you able to rename from your side, or does this all have to happen from mine?
I think it's better if it does works from yours. It seems a little bit flaky if done from mine.
Chunk ID. It's fine. Just a lot of renaming. So this is chunk storage. I wrote some checks that we are going to have to cache.
So do you have both the game you just demoed with the worm has portals where you can go deeper? Do you have that as well, or do you only now just replace it with horizontal motion?
I think that we will have something like portals, like warp around or whatever, but I think we need to get the baseline idea of. So one of the big differences is that in the level descending game, we just had an array of levels that we would slowly populate as you went deeper. So eventually you get deep enough and you run out of memory. I think you run out of memory for other reasons before then, but this has to have some sort of concept like this chunk storage. Mm-hmm. Where it gets written to disk or something like that, because you're going to end up loading a bunch of these things. And we also talked about maybe wanting to be able to zoom out and see lots of chunks at once and stuff like that. And so we're going to need some sort of semi-random access to chunks. All right, so mostly I'm just getting rid of the squiggles at this point. That is the next stage. And since we just call it chunk state for now, I can name it a chunk later. I think it's really just going to end up being chunk. I think that there's going to be no
separate state.
I think that you're just going to end up being a grid, like a grid of cells is what you're going to return from the chunk generator instead of being a chunk that you return, because we now have a grid concept. I don't know whether we had this I don't think we did last week. I refactored out the nested arrayness of level into its own class grid because I realized I needed it for tracking lighting and tracking, whether we visited it.
Turns out all these games are just grids stacked on top of each other with interesting data in each level, each layer.
Well, it was fun. I was playing around with Unity some last night because I'm trying to replace my my TV viewing habits with futzing around with programming again. Which I guess maybe I never stopped. I like to futz with the program, but I was futzing around with Unity last night, and it's fascinating as I learn more, as I watch videos on Unity. I was watching videos on Blender on how all the animation goes, and I don't know, it's just so cool to see all these systems. They're just so different than the systems that I'm used to working in.
I feel like if I use a very sophisticated system like Unity, and then I go build my own toy version of it, and then I come back and use it again, I understand it so much better because I've been faced with the same design questions. And even if I made different choices than the designers there made, then I can see the choices and see the design intent.
Exactly. Okay, so chunk state, this is actually going to just be grid of cell, this whole. This is this chunk state is really just going to be chunk. There's no. I'm going to delete class block. It's just silly. This doesn't need to exist. Enter and exit doesn't make any sense. And that's fine. This can get. All right, so the question is, how much of this needs to get copied? Probably a lot.
This was the old level class.
This was the old level class that got renamed to chunk, and is now.
This is, by the way, why we created the worm game branch, is because this is major surgery, and we want to be able to go back to this functioning game in case this thing doesn't work out.
Honestly, I think we should have just started a new repo, maybe with this as a base, but it's okay. All right, class chunk. I'm gonna dump this in here. We did write some good, useful code. We may keep. Exit. This doesn't make any sense. We don't need portals anymore. Current level number.
Probably don't need that either.
This could be chunk ID.
Current chunk ID.
Chunk. Maybe I just ID. But it should be chunk ID, I think. This, I think it should be chunk ID. I think ID is just a little too generic. Dart's got me used to writing really long names. Okay. Generated block. Maybe I can't blame it on Dart. This is going to be cells that size. Yep. And this makes sense, right? So you're passed in these original cells, and then you generate all your mapped and lit. Like, are you imagining? Are you imagining that you're going to want lighting and fog of war in this?
Yeah, I think so. I think those are good elements to keep the previous game that I think we want to carry forward.
All right, exit sprite. I'm going to kill that. We're going to kill the entrance sprite. This is going to be. This is our somewhat misdesigned. Thing I don't like about this is that it holds this in here. I really want this to just be like a free function or like, yeah, that's fine. Whatever. We're gonna get rid of this.
Well, should we change it now? Like, is that?
Maybe. I'm not. Let's see, what is this? Block empty. This is this. Oh, actually, this is just gonna be cells, right?
Yep.
Cell, and this is gonna be cells. So now this might make more sense, honestly.
Do you have a cells, like an empty generator for cells?
I think so.
Like fill with default or something?
I don't know how it would do
filled.
that.
Yeah. So
but there is grid filled. Should be able to do size, and then currently it has to pass a function, but I don't know that I need to do it that way. It's possible I could just pass const cell empty. I don't know. I didn't.
It's fine.
My Dart API design foo was not strong enough for that.
You still need to know the entrance, right? Oh, I guess it doesn't matter.
You never need to do more than one anymore. And in fact, I don't even call it this way. I just call generate. So this is just generate.
Okay.
This is book. And I need enter.
So then cell. I see. So now cells shouldn't be. Yeah, none of this makes sense. But
you might actually need enter.
Well, I think maybe you'll generate the adjacent cell, and you can't walk over. You have to like find a way into it, like find a place where the.
Yeah, I don't think you actually care about reachability anymore when generating cells.
Yeah, let's get rid of that concept. Then you don't need the count either, right?
Yep. That's all right. So you don't need this.
And you don't even really want to pass in random, right? Because you want to initialize your random from the chunk ID. Or like maybe the caller should do that. Because you want to generate a specific chunk ID. Like it shouldn't matter how you got there. It should be determined all from your initial seed.
I agree. I'm not sure this even belongs in its own separate object anymore. Like, is this just a small method on the chunk storage? Maybe not. But I think we can. So add many walls, find unreachable cells.
I think we just want to simplify this. Just like, yeah, like we don't need this level has path between here either, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just keep going.
Then is there like a set? How do you set in a grid?
I think set.
Set. Okay.
And this is just cells I get. And then that should be position. Why are we?
I mean, while true anymore because there's no constraints. But a wall.
Okay. So it's possible this add wall doesn't even.
Yeah, I think we may bring some of these things back from the branch as we get more complicated, but
okay.
For now.
Function mark sync must have a. That's fine. You don't need to. You just do that.
We don't need this.
Cells. Oh, we don't need to fill in reachable cells anymore.
No, why not? Because like we have the idea that you're going to be able to modify the cells, right? So if there's an unreachable area, you could like get in there by breaking through the walls. This just feels like I'm just inlining these functions because they're so simple now.
Well, and then the whole object falls apart, right? Because now, like, why are we storing this thing on the? Why are we making a generator to store this on?
No, this whole thing is just a free function called generate chunk.
Yep. Great. And then the generator goes away, and this all makes much more sense.
Okay, so I need this generator.
So it is going to be important that you generate them consistently, right? For a given random seed, it needs to reliably generate. There's also going to be a trouble with generation that we'll get to, but in that you are going to want like biomes and whatnot when we get to that. You're going to want things that span multiple chunks, like patterns and themes.
Yeah, this is going to be like a function on world, right? Where's world? World is a list of chunks? No. You haven't gotten to world yet.
World I haven't touched at all. What is world?
So what do you have your chunk storage?
World doesn't really do anything in the... This should, I guess, have the chunk storage on it?
Yeah, where did you put your chunk storage today?
I think chunk storage is on world state. Like we have this funny separation between state and...
Right.
Which possibly can go away.
Oh, we have game state? I see. Okay, so why don't we just get rid of world and put everything on game state?
Okay.
So what does world have left?
World is just the size and levels.
Okay, so why don't we just delete that? Yeah, I think generate chunk goes on game state.
Okay.
This is going to modify or like lazily create your game state.
Yeah, so in Minecraft, they have some optimization. I don't know, and we don't have anything nearly this complicated, but when they generate a chunk, it's like a 16 by 16 and then like 256 deep. And then they generate it from a given seed. And then I believe they save differences from that seed. They save modification. It's some way of like, because they're generating. So like we do this like adding walls. That's wrong. That's like a multi-pass generation. It should be a single pass generation, which you could do if you had like a noise function, which we could add. Another thing I learned from game programming is they love to use these like Perlin noise functions to generate this like, randomness.
Okay, let's do it that way. So then we're just going to iterate through all the cells and roll a die to see what's going to happen with this cell.
So
right?
I want to stop us there because I want us to get to an MVP. And I worry we're going to have to do so much surgery on the generation. We could even just generate empty cells now, and that would be fine.
Okay, let's generate empty cells. That makes a total sense to me. We're going to leave the random parameter here just because we're going to have to remember something about that.
What is this? Chunk spawn? Oh, this is like...
Oh, how do I make a chunk? Oh, generate chunk. I put generate chunk in totally the wrong place.
And then the like level, the enemies generating on as part of chunks actually doesn't make any sense in this world. Well, maybe it does.
I have a grid. How do I make a chunk out of a grid? I can. I spawn it with an ID and a random.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's just called. I think you just make it. Like, I don't know. You need to spawn.
Okay.
I guess it's called spawn because it spawns the enemies and items on it.
Yeah, but okay.
This feels wrong. Like every time you re-enter a chunk. Again, we just need to get a thing compiling and running. Get the MVP working.
Okay, so I'm just going to say, I'm going to call the chunk creator. I'm going to pass in random. What other parameters do I need to make a chunk?
Chunk spawn, cells, chunk ID, and random.
Okay. What is a chunk ID? Chunk ID, chunk.
Yeah, chunk ID is like what you called it. Okay. And
So can we get rid of the name constructor? Like just call it a regular constructor.
Done.
All right, so now we got generate chunk size. The size is the chunk size.
Chunk size is not initialized.
No, I put that in the wrong
Not needed
place.
anymore. Fixed. Undefined name grid.
The
cells.
Somewhere we need a chunk size, right? So like I size.
The cells is the size comes from the cells.
Oh, does cells know the size?
Cells is a grid. It knows its
right,
size.
but when I'm generating the chunk, I need to create the grid.
I need to find where you are. Where you generate?
I'm on line 564.
64.
And the compiler is sad because I pulled a size out of nowhere.
Oh, well, so in this world, all chunks are the same size. That just be K chunk size or whatever.
Okay, so let's put that here, K chunk size.
Right, that's the whole way that it works. You can't.
Yep, that makes logical sense. Okay, so we generated a chunk. Good. So we don't have a world anymore, so we can get rid of world.
Position name for location. This
storage empty. That makes sense.
You want center, and I think the other two can go.
What is chunk ID random here? Sorry, I'm on line 550.
It's just I wrote that was a check I wrote.
Okay. Clear spawn at position 0. This doesn't seem right anymore. There's no enter.
This needs to be
visibility.
High size.
I think you just get rid of position for name location. I think that's not a thing that's going to make sense anymore.
Position from okay. Oh. We can get the same information another way. I did use it somewhere, but that's fine. All right, what is this? This is cells. Okay. Is passable is already defined. How do I define it?
So can we back up and say what is chunk ID?
Chunk ID, I think, is just a position right now.
So it's like a X and a Y.
I think it literally should hold. I think it's an opaque object that can be turned into a string. And right now we just.
But it holds a position. Yeah, okay, great.
Because the chunk storage is going to be a map for now.
Okay.
Right, so we need something we can stick in a map.
So do we need
and you also are going to be able to need to answer questions of give me adjacent chunks.
So should we just make it be a position? Like you just want it to be like a type wrapper around position.
Correct.
We need to add like the operators, like operator equals and hash and stuff,
right? Yes. In order to store it in a map, we will.
Okay, I'll add those.
You said generate. It's called generate chunk, or what do you call it? It's spawn it. Oh, this is not right. This is size. All right, this is wrong.
Called int get hash value. Oops.
I hope this isn't too completely confusing for those who's watching along, since I'm talking to you about one thing and not showing it on screen.
Hash code, that's what it's called.
Smushing level and level state together is making so much sense here.
Yeah, you gotta refactor things. So why is it mad at me? I have the squiggles under the equal sign. Did I do something wrong?
Chunk ID equal is not a valid object equal function object.
Oh, object. Other. Oh, I see. Yeah, this is a famous thing. You have to say if.
Oh, well, why? Oh, I see. You can't. Okay.
Other is chunk ID.
Yeah. Okay.
return this.
You might be able to make a type refining override.
So the chunk you can get, there's like a center, right? Like origin.
That's where I was going with like random, but yeah, origin would be good. Yeah.
Okay, so
That's
origin
better
is
than
like
random.
position dot 0.
Mm-hmm.
This is const constructible. Okay. Why is this mad?
Maybe we
Oh,
didn't have
non-final.
position
Oh,
zero.
this needs to be final.
That's fine. We need position 0. I'll add one. This is starting to feel more like how we used to hack.
Yeah.
I just the like forcing us to work on the same thing on the same screen. This may be really hard to watch. I don't know. But hacking in parallel makes more sense. Okay, chunk ID apply. Whoa. Whoa.
What you want? Sorry,
Yeah,
I was just trying to live your dream.
Yeah, I want to live the dream. So I actually don't think the chunk ID should know. I think the chunk storage should know.
Chunk storage should know.
Or
so
the
you
world.
want, do you want to be able to call this constructor?
No.
So how do you? So here's the origin. So how do you get a non-origin chunk ID?
I think of chunk IDs as being opaque strings.
Okay.
Maybe this constructor needs to exist. I don't know. I haven't gotten there. I'm just sort of cheating for right now because I think eventually there's like a database, basically.
Okay, so you want a string? You're saying 2 string?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we need a 2 string in order to display them wherever they were. But
okay, so the 2 string is like.
Here's position 2 string for now. Like maybe I'm dreaming, but I think of them as being opaque strings. Maybe they shouldn't be. Maybe they just literally are positions.
Okay. I like your dream.
I'm glad you like my dream. Okay, let's see what do we got. That's you. World isn't defined. Oh. Oh, does the game state not have a width?
We work on trunk storage. So chunk storage, given a chunk ID, you can get and set the chunk. Okay, so I think this internally is a map, right? Chunk ID, chunk storage.
Sorry, I am not paying attention to you. You want chunk storage is internally a map, correct?
Okay.
Oh, what happened?
Just like put if absent. Key is the ID. And this is generate chunk. Our old friend generate chunk. Right?
Yeah.
ID.
Well, that's good enough. Like this will get us
random. So we need a random.
in the chunk storage, yeah.
Okay.
And this is where we get to we need a random tree or whatever.
But it's not quite. This isn't quite right. I think we need to seed the random with the chunk ID, like a. What we need is like oh, sorry. There are lots of comments. Have we done any of these comments? Sorry, we were totally lost in coding.
Oh, sorry, we got lost in our. Holy.
The cool thing is wave function collapse. Oh, that sounds neat. Do you have like a reference for that? We could try that. Limits the possible values is cell based. Oh, I see. Yeah. So it's like a Markov chain. Oh, hi, Giphy. If they're abstract, could be non-Euclidean. Yeah, that sounds neat. I think we're doing like I totally think there's a phase of this project where we start doing really fancy level generation. For now, I think just like even empty levels are where we're at, so we can just move in this open world.
We may decide that we completely want to rewrite this to be a completely different thing, you know, in the easy bake oven, right? So
why is there a set function on the chunk storage? What is that for?
So I think you've now made it into the get that. So what I had assumed,
I see.
what I had assumed was that you would get a chunk out of storage, you'd hold it locally, modify it, like, and then you'd put it back in storage. I don't understand how we're going to do modifications to chunks.
Okay, so I suggest just plowing forward and seeing what happens. So I'm gonna take out set because I don't think.
Okay, it's just when you are able to pick up blocks, which you was on the to-do list that you gave me.
Yep.
You're going to need to be able to modify the chunk, and you can only modify the current chunk. Do we actually need a random on the chunk storage? I guess so, because you is the okay.
We haven't quite. The random thing doesn't quite make sense yet.
Well, it's also that you made it part of the get. Like this could just return null, and we could make the caller. Like that's what the nearby chunks was about. It was a like, tell me what the names of all the chunks are. Okay, I'll see if you have them. Oh, okay, I'll generate them for you, or something like that.
But why wouldn't you just want this like infinitely expansive thing? You just ask the chunk store for like, give me a chunk over here, and it's like, cool, here you go.
Well, because get isn't quite right. So as William was alluding to, I think when you do this for real, you need a given chunk to sort of have some dependencies on the chunks around it, which maybe you get from having a shared noise generation, right? So that like it has some like
continuous function
between. And so you don't actually access the chunks one at a time. Also, when you load them, you don't really load them one at a time. You load up 9 of them because you want to. I think maybe not in the MVP, but I think in the soon after you're going to want to show the like adjacent chunks right next to it, because you also have to load that for navigability perspective, right? So say the next room over happens to have generated a block right along in the same spot where you want to walk in. You can't walk in there, like, and you need to know that.
Yeah, so I totally get that. So I totally think there should be an access around this function that's like, give me the related chunk, like this chunk and the nearby ones.
Yep.
But I don't understand why wouldn't you want this get function that automatically populates your, like, in this world, like the concept is the chunk store contains every chunk, like in all in the entire open world. It just lazily creates it.
I think I was thinking of this as a lower level thing. Like this function's or this class's job is to like abstract saving these things to disk and stuff like that.
I see. So you want to like check out a chunk and you want to check it back in.
Yeah.
And like I want to lock it. Like now I have this lock.
Well, somehow. I was thinking about how Minecraft does this. I think Minecraft does this by having a single server, right? So like the server's job is to load all the chunks, and yeah, it may hand out copies and like handle diffs, but like it has the authoritative reference.
Okay. Can I rename this function, this class to world?
You can rename it to whatever you like.
Okay. I want to rename it to world, and then I want to worry about adding chunk storage later as an implementation detail of the world.
Okay. Make it so. Do you still want world to hold the random, or is should get be given a random? It's like, do you want a separate get or default? Sorry, go ahead.
This random is the wrong thing. I need a function from chunk ID that gives me a random, so that the random that I get is predictable for a given chunk ID, but like salted for this world.
But this again is. Sorry, go ahead. I keep talking over you.
No, go for it.
Well, this is where it doesn't actually use random to do these things. It uses things like a noise function. Right. So we could tech up to that, although I don't think we should do that now. And so then the noise function is predictable based on the seed of the chunk ID, or like the noise function is based on, and this is where the chunk IDs probably actually are positions because they are offsets into the noise.
Right. Okay. How about this for now? Let's take away random. Let's take away random from here.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Just make them empty.
well, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say final random equals
You're making them anyway.
random
Empty anyways. Where's the
ID.
chunk random? Really? Oh, because it spawns enemies? Oh. Okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, you were
world.empty. So then I don't have a world.empty. I just have a world. I think I want to pass in a seed for my world. Right. And then what I want to do here is I want to like, you know, XOR my seed in.
right. We're to make the world have a constructor.
Because that's sensible, right? Like my world should have a seed that I pass in, right? And then this is wrong, but we'll figure that out later. So my world has a seed.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Hint. Seed.
Do I have to pass in a seed now? Seed is now required?
No, I don't think it is. Like, we just make it default, right? We just make it or 0.
Oh, okay, that sounds legit.
I don't know whether 0 is going to do the right thing here, but
I think the way to do this is you say int question mark seed seed equals seed 0.
Yep, something like that should work. Yeah.
Here we can say seed colon seed. Okay.
Chunks can't be accessed in the initializer.
Right. So we don't need.
So this was the checkout idea.
Let's just make this late, right?
Okay.
So let's say the current chunk is chunks.
Yeah.
Chunk ID origin.
Okay. Yep. That makes sense. Yep.
Okay.
And chunks is really now world.
Really world, yeah.
I can rename it. But we reused a bunch of the same names to do now completely different things.
Yeah, well, I mean, your game should have a world, right?
All right, so this is the painting. Yeah, what is this? We're going to want this to be slightly different later, but for now we can just do current. Wrong? Current.
Current, yep.
This is wrong, but we'll make the fancier one fancy later. All right, block. This is chunk.
We can just comment out those tests. Like these tests don't make sense. Like they're testing invariants of algorithms that we've deleted.
Yeah, we can decide which ones of these we want to resurrect if we resurrect any of them. Okay. Okay. No testing. Who needs testing? Okay. Shall we try running this thing?
Yeah, I have no idea like how much of it is implemented. The errors are all gone, so it should do something.
That must work. Although this isn't Rust, where if you beat your way through the compiler, it will work.
We definitely haven't done the thing that when you get to the edge of the map and you walk over, that we transport you somewhere else.
No.
That's
because we need to generate all the adjacent chunks and understand like whether there's a wall in the next chunk over kind of thing. All right, what do we got here? Is it running?
I think you're running the web version, so look for a browser somewhere.
Wonder if I can. Yeah, this one. If I start up one of these, will it do the right thing? Otherwise, I may have to. If it won't run in the correct browser, I may have to stop sharing my screen for a second and then. Come on, you should do it. All right. Oh, 1 second. Let me figure out what. No, it's not running in this one. Sorry.
Should we try it from the command line? Is that a way of escaping the Visual Studio Code version issue?
No, it's still trying to launch in Chrome. It just doesn't seem to be trying to launch in a browser that I can see.
I see.
Okay.
The games aren't very fun in an invisible browser.
Flutter run. Let's see, what does it do when I do Flutter run? Oh no, I didn't want to do Windows.
What's wrong with Windows?
Well, I don't think it'll work. I think it'll barf. Although it did start to do something. I don't know. I'm sorry for having foobarred my setup midweek.
That's how you know the show is real. It's we're doing it live, as they say.
It was really cathartic to uninstall Visual Studio 2019 and then know when I click on a C# file. What's the extension for C#?
I think CS maybe.
Yeah. Okay, what do we got? Chunk 00.
Okay, and can you walk around? Okay, it's got keys and monsters. Okay, sure. And no walls. This is correct. So it actually it worked.
Right, so now we just have to add going to the next chunk.
Right. That shouldn't be that hard.
Okay. Amazing.
This is why types are useful. Like the analyzer does something. So this must be some logic where we prevent us from walking off the edge of the world, right? Can move. Like it must be here in this chunk can move function.
Current chunk can move. Yeah, but we don't want to ask current chunk anymore. We want to ask.
I think it's fine to ask the current chunk.
Well, but it's.
Oh, we need to figure out which chunk to ask.
Well, we need to. It's fine for that, but we need to ask a bigger question, right?
So I think now we're getting back to the question we were asking before. I think the way you should get a chunk ID is you should pass in a position, and then it should basically like divide by chunk size to give you your chunk ID.
I see. So these positions are now world positions rather than chunk positions.
Right. So I think if we say like, here, I think we want to say like target position, player.location plus delta. This is like target. Oh, we have that target. So we want to say final target chunk ID is chunk ID from world position.
Yeah.
World.
I see. Okay.
And then we need to look up the chunk world.get chunk.
Well, I think we can just
chunk.
Check to see if it's our current chunk ID.
What? It's just a map, right? We're going to optimize the map lookup. Is passable.
I see.
Target.
Okay.
But then here...
that's not quite what the can move does, right? The can move...
Oh, right, so we should say can move to target.
So I'm going to remove this.
What's it? Is passable?
Yeah, just is passable is fine. All right. So you just put this here.
There's one subtlety here, which
Yeah.
is this position here is a global position, and the chunk is going to have to translate this into local coordinates somehow when it does a lookup. So we can do that. So like let's go to is passable, for example.
I wonder if we need a separate type between local position and global position.
Well, I think we should just use the position type always as the global position. So here in get cell and set cells, if you go to line 359, so this thing knows its chunk ID, right? So we can say,
so you're just going to ask for its chunk offset?
yeah.
Okay.
And this out of bounds should never occur. Oh, it could occur, I guess. I could say like final chunk cell offset. Yeah, we're going to need another type here, but somehow chunk ID dot get offset cell offset cell position cell something.
Let's just get chunk offset, right?
Get offset. Okay, good.
But yeah,
and then we need to feed that here in such a way that we never get confused.
Oh, well, this is a. Does position have a divide by delta or?
What I'm getting at is this. I guess this is okay.
We're kind of hacking this in here, which is fine.
Yeah, we're not quite doing this right because we're like this local, global.
Yeah.
Get local. This is like too local, right? So this should have a different type.
Yeah, I think ideally. I mean, you can do them the same, but I do think you want them to be different types. Yes.
Anytime when I've done them the same, I've always gotten confused. So I think here in this get function for cell,
types are your friend here.
Yeah, so
I can split the type right now.
Well, we can just do it right now, right? Like class local position.
You just call it local and global or something.
I'm just going to leave position as global and just make a thing called maybe grid location, grid position.
Sure.
Secretly, it's a position.
Where are you typing this?
On line 37.
Oh, I see. You're not typing it next to position.
I'm making it a grid thing.
Okay. I see. Why does it need to use the position code at all?
It doesn't.
Okay. All right, so you're just saying that now grid should take, anytime grid deals with positions, it should be grid positions.
Yeah.
Fine.
I think I need my friend's operator equals and such, right?
Yeah, you're going to copy a bunch of position code. Which is in a different function. It's in the types function or geometry function or something, or geometry file. You just copy it over. We're also pretty low on time. All right, item at position. Yeah, okay. So this is going to be. And who does the two local? Did you say it was chunk ID?
I think chunk ID should do it.
I think maybe just chunk should do it.
Okay, it's going to consult the chunk ID, but that's fine. Yeah, so now I think chunk ID should not secretly be a position. I think chunk ID should similarly secretly be int x and y.
Great. Make it so.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna. Where were you doing to local before?
I hadn't done it yet.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm about to.
I don't think we need to apply delta anymore.
Okay. Oops, I started undoing your stuff. Sorry.
I'm used to it. So many positions.
He says as a broken man.
It's true, when you use tools for too long, you just get like inured to their problems.
I'm supposed to make a joke about VI or Emacs there, but I'm not sure which one. So,
or both.
Or both, yes. Okay, chunk ID to local. This is going to be. What does the chunk ID have? It has like a.
As an x and a y. There's also this chunk size.
Position grid position XY. So this is going to be position.x minus chunk ID dot x. Position.y minus chunk ID y. Okay. On and done it.
Well, you're going to need a divide here. Chunk ID times k chunk size dot.
Oh,
width.
I see. All right, sure. Yep. That's all right. I write the checks and you make them good.
And we've already had 2 global. Oh no. Okay. All right. We needed a from world, right? On chunk ID. We wrote some check about that. The analyzer will tell us.
All right, let's see. The body may not complete normally. Why not? Oh, because it needs to return. Okay. Position cannot be assigned. This is
set cells also
thing.
Yeah.
To okay. Type position cannot be assigned. This is revealed. Same thing.
What is this? Huh?
These are separate grids.
Yeah.
These are the layered grids.
Yeah. So now the analyzer is telling us all the things we need to do.
Exactly. Why would you use
Hello, welcome. Sorry, we're late on the chat.
Oh yeah, we've been so not chatting.
Is it possible to swap Skia with another open source rendering library which actually supports 3D? Ah.
You mean in Flutter?
In Flutter.
Maybe.
You'll have to implement the Canvas API somehow, of course.
Yeah.
But, you could.
I mean, it would be a lot of work, but
what you would probably end up doing is ripping out the Canvas API and putting in some 3D thing, and then not using the like widgets and stuff that actually draw to the canvas or something. I don't know. It's definitely possible.
I suspect we depend on Skia.
Cache replacement policy. I mean, LRU? Isn't that the best one? LRU, sorry, is at least recently used.
It just feels like the icebreaker question at some database conference or something like that. And on the back of your name cards, you'll see.
I mean, to answer, I'll give you a longer answer to that question. I generally prefer things that have smooth degradation. So one of the bummers about LRU is if your working set is just slightly larger than your cache, you can thrash it horribly, because if you have n things in your cache and you're using things round robin and you have n+1 things, you'll always miss the cache. So generally that means I like some kind of randomness or stochasticness in the cache management to smooth over those kind of edges. It does make things slightly less predictable, but it gives you a sort of more globally predictable performance.
Okay, help me, Obi-Wan. I need a 2 global here.
Yeah, just yield. You need your chunk ID, right? Just say chunk ID to global.
I'm sorry?
What class are you in? You're in chunk?
I am in I just need to write the check.
Write the check. Position to global.
This is going to be
Grid position.
map position.
No problem. I'm gonna solve your check.
Thank you. Appreciate it. What would I do without it? Okay.
So we're sort of at time, but we're sort of solving kind of the core problem here, which is converting in and out of chunks. And
yeah, we are kind of out of time. I don't know if we're going to get to any, like, what is our dramatic reveal going to be?
Walk over to the next chunk.
You're going to walk over to the next chunk?
I mean, it feels close to that.
Chunk all positions. Is this what I want? Oh, should I not? Let's see. All positions. Yep. Okay. Position can't be decided. This is going to be all grid positions. Yep. From world. Oh, from world.
That's just to oh yeah, we need that. Just say from position.
Oh, instead of from.
Yeah, we decided that the position was world position.
Okay.
That's where the division happens.
Yeah, I've recently been reading database papers. Recently, took a database class once. I took a master's class databases because I had already graduated. That class and I did not get along well. All right, what do we got here? All positions lit. Oh, these all need. This needs to be all grid positions. Delta 2. Whoa. Doing here? Oh no. Okay. That needs to be all positions. Sorry, I undid you again.
I made it. I got to the end.
I don't know why is this to. This is current chunk to local.
Well, the point of using these types, I mean, Eric, you know this, I'm just saying this for the viewers, is so that all this complicated refactoring that he's doing, that the analyzer is telling him the right answer all the time. And if we reuse the position class for the local position and the global position, then we would like have to figure it all out by debugging instead of having the compiler tell us how to do it.
Yeah, don't try this without separate types. You want those years of your life back. Okay. And I say that from too many years of experience of fighting with WebKit. I remember I think, did we do this in WebKit? I think we had a zero-based index. Yeah, we did. We had a zero-based index and a one-based index type.
Oh my gosh. And this is for like line numbers in source files or something.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh my gosh, the zero index and the one indexed.
It's just super important. Previously, so when we inherited KHTML, it didn't have types for any of these things. And like even for sizes and groups of stuff. All right. So do we think we can go? Well, let's like see. Oh, we can't. There's not anything we can see.
Well, leave the key there. We should pop out on the other side, right? Can you hit left? What happens?
It's not working.
You want to hit a debug statement in the can move function?
Something happened. I'm stuck now. What's that?
Oh, we never set the current chunk. When we actually apply the move action, we need to change the current chunk.
All right. So that's gonna be. I don't know. We're now 6 minutes over.
Well,
Are we going in for the last minute steal, or are we?
Let's go for 5 more minutes and then give up. So what's happening in move action execute game state? We need to say game state update chunk. Okay.
Move action. Does move action have a? Oh, I see. Update chunk.
And what update chunk needs to do is to make sure the current chunk matches the player.
It's actually probably going to be update chunks, but yeah.
Okay, update chunks.
I mean, we could get rid of the current chunk and make the current chunk always a lookup
based on the player position. Okay, do you want to do that?
I mean, that's the cheat.
Yeah, that's sure.
I expect update chunk is better, but
anyways. Chunk would be world.get chunk ID from position player.position.
Location, you mean? But yeah, we'll rename that someday.
Position thing is great. We don't need that.
Well, when do we ever? Oh, I see. The get will generate it. Okay. Okay. Let's try. I don't know why I so like how I foobarred my editor setup here.
There's a DB class where you implement a research database. Yeah, those are always my favorite classes where you okay, the compiler class says you're going to implement a compiler. The database class says you're going to implement a database. And then you really learn how it actually works. Some of it depends on how much scaffolding code they give you. Like if they give you a totally blank piece of paper and they say, knock yourself out, make a database. You spend a lot of time just building up the scaffolding.
Oh.
Okay. See if you can do it.
Okay. Tried. It didn't go anywhere.
I tried going over here.
I'm stuck again.
You're stuck again.
It's like hung. Okay. I think the Easy Bake Oven will make it work this weekend.
Okay. I feel like it's close.
Let me sorry, whenever I'm looking over that way, it's that I look at my second computer that I can control our stream with, because I have to stream my whole screen for this setup. It's so hard. Life is so hard, Dr. Barr.
It's tough. It's a tough job making games.
Anyways, this was fun as always. I think we made some significant progress. As I said, we'll hopefully we'll have some time, or I'll have some time this weekend, and we can Easy Bake Oven will make it work, and then we can do exciting, fun things next week.
Sounds great. See you all next week. Thanks for coming.
Take care.